It's yet another beautiful day. I wonder what news are there now about Pure Chase. Listen, I already did this bit before. You know the rules, and so do I.
Yep, you up. Explosions!
So, welcome everyone. Today I'll be talking about everything new that has been happening around Pure Chase 2 in the past couple of days. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and what I have gathered as information. I have concerns about the upcoming changes. First and foremost, for those that don't know, Blade Ninja has announced that he'll be doing another major overhaul rework of 60-70% of the coding of the game, and that includes major changes like the main gameplay loop of the game. I do not know exactly every detail of this except what Blade has posted on social media, so we will go with that information. So what I think is that while quality of life changes and bug fixes and making the user experience seems like a very good idea, the game does need health updates. There has been a lot of bugs that existed since a long time, since before even the overhaul, after the overhaul. But on the opposite side, suddenly changing the game so drastically might backfire without a very proper testing and feedback. It might backfire in a way that might make people just not want to play the game anymore. But for now, as I said, we'll go with the things we know. First and foremost, third person. One of the main cool aspects of Pure Chase 2 as Survivor when you play Survivor is that you play in first person, not in third. You have a lot of different games like Dead by Daylight and Forsaken that you play in third person, a lot of different asymmetrical horror games and you play in third person, but in Pure Chase what's good about the first person, what makes it unique and fun, is that you rely on the spatial awareness and sound cues way more. That is the fun factor that has a more horror element as you look around first person in dark corridors. Enabling third person for survival will give a huge advantage. If you look at, again, games like Dead by Daylight and Forsaken, in those games you play in third person, which allow you to peek corners and see a lot more and just be more optimal and practical and just whoop camp corners way better than you would in first person. It eliminates less of the threat of stealth killers, so this type of change would also greatly nerf stealth killers, with prime and simple example being Jeff the Killer. So as interesting as this is as an idea, to see your character in third person to just run around, walk around, I don't think it's a good idea for the identity specifically of Pure Chase, and that being for the fun and balance factor. On the second topic I'm gonna move on is Pallets. I quote, Pure Chase was originally inspired by Hero custom game mode and not by Dead by Daylight. Yeah, right, about that. Pure Chase is not beating the Dead by Daylight allegations right now. On a serious note, let's talk about this change. And let me tell you, as a person who has over 3000 hours of Dead by Daylight, why you do not want pallets in Pure Chase. Let me explain why. The dynamic and the structure of Pure Chase is very different compared to other asymmetrical horror games. You have a lot of survivors and just one or sometimes two killers. In Dead by Daylight, for those that don't play the game, you have one killer versus 4 survivors, and you have a big map with a lot of pallets. But the thing is, as an experienced Dead by Daylight player, there are pallets in the game which you can play around and use different killer powers around them. But at the same time, there are also pallets called God pallets, which you cannot play around and you must break, essentially forcing you to waste time. Now, why do I say this? Thing is, survivors in Dead by Daylight have way different perks compared to Pure Chase. You have a lot of second chance perks, objective oriented perks, team related perks, and so on. You do not have such crazy as something as rewind, for example, or invincible that activates by itself without needing a special requirement. The closest thing I can think of from Dead by Daylight is something like Dead Hard, which allows you to tank an additional hit, but those are under special circumstances, unlike something like Invincible, which just automatically activates by itself. So why do I say this? The point is, Pure Chase Survivor has a lot of different tools to defend themselves, like Doom Gauntlet, Invincible, Rewind, and adding pallets on top of that with the current system, with the current Survivor perks and items, would be very atrocious for killer monster. And it will be a big, huge time waste, especially against keywords that have less, that are more weak and have less of those abilities. They did mention MX would have the ability to charge through pallets and stuff like that, but now we're just going to Dead by Daylight category. The way keywords like Hillbilly and Oni and other keywords from Dead by Daylight can also break pallets by charging at them. And I assure you, another aspect that is very important is that it will get very tedious and boring to have break pallets over and over and over. Survivor draws pallet, you break pallet. Survivor draws pallet, you break pallet. It's a gameplay mechanic that just stops the flow of the chase and just makes it just less fun and interactive. We will see when there is more news about it, but I would really want to see more actual like gameplay and testing. It's very important, very important. So let's wait. What? Shadow? Yes, it is I, Shadow the Hedgehog. I heard things about a video game. What's up, friend? What do I owe the pleasure? So, this video game, a game called Pure Chase, and in it something about an ultimate skin. I, with the better judge, is good enough to be called the ultimate skin. So you see about that. There's this character called P6 and the ultimate skin depicting you was with it, so they're both gone.
Come on.
Who dared to do such a mockery? Some people say it's copyright issues. Pathetic. Only a petty fool would stoop so low. Yeah, so I thought you like coffee once in a while I finish my discussion. Coffee. Beans to be precise. I prefer the source material, as actual coffee ruins the perfectly good flavor. Well, if that's what you want, alright. Anyway, back to the video. That's right. Next up from what I saw is now instead of surviving the timer like until now, the survivors have to escape the map. Now, would this be more like the disaster where it's still a certain threshold that the timer needs to reach before the escape appears, or it will be like Dead by Daylight where when all the generators are done, survivors can escape through a powered exit gate? I did not know, but my assumption will be one of the two. Now that we have all this information, here are my thoughts on the matter. Pure Chase does need evolution. It needs to become better, more fun and interactive for both sides, striking good balance and powers and etc. Right now I think Pure Chase does not need such huge changes that would make the game drastically different. I know it's a fun game project with lots of different inspired elements, different asymmetrical horror games, but at this point I firmly believe that the game has acquired its own identity with its many monsters, maps, gameplay and just so on. It's nothing new, one monster versus many survivors, right? But that does not mean to make it less unique and try to chase change just for the sake of change and popularity perhaps. Start slow, do quality of life changes, do small patches every week, see how people react. Ask the people, do you want to test pallets in public testing servers? Do you want to try third person? Do you want to try multiple perks? Make the community vote and everyone vote. I know there might be a fear that the community might be afraid of changes, but right now what we're talking about is making the right decision based on proper feedback and constructive criticism. Nothing more, nothing less. We have stayed with Pure Chase for a long time and I personally started playing Pure Chase a few months ago and was really drawn in because of the gameplay. I literally started playing the game because of MX and PCX, their character design, sounds, powers and so on. Let's just all work together to make Pure Chase just more fun and great for everyone. I think that's what everyone wants. So yeah, I do still have faith in the changes. There aren't final changes, we're gonna see. We have to wait and see what the final changes are, so that's all we can do for now. So yeah, I'll not be negative about it. Just have to wait and see more on the matter, more on the update. We have to actually test these changes and so with that in mind, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and sub. Let me know what you think about these changes in the comments and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. So, Shadow, have you heard the story of Lythero?